I also had a, you want to step up here? We'll all three of us stay up here and we'll take questions answered here on anything, either Mike or Matt. I had 3 comments I wanted to make before I open up for Q&A. Anybody want to guess how long the average sand mound gets guaranteed for? I mean, 1 year. There is no guarantee. There have been sand mounds that have gone bad in a year. Got a bad batch of sand from the quarry, something like that. Normally, properly taken care of, we expect 15 or 20 years. That's a really bad deal for a homeowner. But there's no guarantee on a sand mound. Another thing is, back to the whole real estate thing, Matt was saying we don't need to do anything. I'm gonna come back at him here. The fact is, that is one of the reasons we like this, is because it's very simple to put in, and that equals less dollars. And we got guys in our company that think we could put one of these in a day. I guess we'll find out, but we're talking 1 to 3 days installation. That equals less dollars, and in a real estate transaction, that may make the difference whether you make the settlement or not. We still have weather things we got to worry about, but we're
and I'm going to say something too. Anytime you have any kind of grade whatsoever, now you get too much grade, then you're going to have to go into a drip. I mean, I think it's over 15% grade. So once it hits that kind of grade, then it goes into a drip. We don't really have any other options. But below 15, anytime you hit any kind of grade on any slope on property, and you're looking to put a system in, if you put a sand mound in, it has to remain level, right? So the front side could blend in real nice, but the back side, you're going to have it could be 7, 8 feet tall depending on the slope. That's how much sand they have to bring in. With our system, it goes on grade. So the slope of the ground, it doesn't matter for us. We don't have to build it up. We don't have to level it out. It goes on grade.
On grade and on contour.
On contour, correct.
Okay, question back there.
That's the whole
start to finish, complete system.
Complete system. Yeah. Complete.
Staying in the center here.
So roughly the unit itself costs right around $6,500 to $7,000, the unit itself. But we're saying finished product is right around 16.
That would be your labor. That would be distribution field, your at-grade system. That'd be everything. Septic tank, whether you're getting a septic tank or a pack unit. Pack unit will come in a little bit less than a traditional system.
Yep.
But we see the prices, just so a complete package, anywhere from up north of, I've seen them from $14,000 to $25,000, depending on where they're at. That's, I'm going to tell you that these are very similar to the housing market, right? If they can get more for it, they typically do. So Philadelphia and places like that, we see more money. Places in New Jersey, we see the installs, they cost more. New York, Long Island, oh my goodness, the installs over there are crazy. So that is rule of thumb. But if you're just plugging in a system and using, let's just say the septic tank is fine, but now you need to plug in your Ecoflo is $6,500, $7,000, okay, with some labor. And if they can utilize the old drain field, then they will. If they have to put one in, you're using a lot less material with ours than with somebody else's.
Sorry. So say it has the old big sand mound and that doesn't work anymore, or they just want to eliminate it. So removing that sand mound and all that would still be in that same kind of price range generally, or not really?
Well, if you were removing a sand mound, you would get a little more cost because you would have to haul that material out then. Unless there's a place on site that you could grade it. But we're looking, more of, not getting a sand mound there in the first place. So, yeah, you would get a little more cost if you want to remove the existing sand mound.
And yeah.
I will have a lot of joy doing it, though.
So that's a really good question. 150 some range is yearly cost
For maintenance,
for maintenance.
150.
We're working at some solutions to that. To say there's everything in place with that, we as a company, realistically up front, you're just going to see a higher price. I mean, somewhere that's money got to. So I would like to see stuff more up in the $18,000 range and go to a real estate transaction. Say, hey, it's covered for 10 years. So we as a company are working toward that. I know there was some talk on Premier Tech, but as of now, there's too many hurdles. Increased labor in the future, they can't necessarily incorporate all the costs. So
It's actually easier for us to do locally, and like you said, it's just something we're working at because we can control the cost better than a company up in Ontario. But not just with, okay, I want to say one other thing about this. One of the reasons we're so excited about this, naturally, Matt's excited because it's his company. This is not our company, but it's solution, especially with these fresh approvals they've gotten. We've been doing these systems, but all of a sudden, as they've downsized these things, they hit a threshold for us that we said, you know what, right when it hits this market, when it hits this mark, now we can go. So additional to that, so that's on the front end, we're seeing the whole industry moving towards managed maintenance. Because like he said, now you think about a car that's managed, when you go to sell that thing, here's the maintenance records. Oh, okay, that's a good car. And the same thing's going to be happening with systems like this. People know what they're getting. It's going to take a little while till people understand and catch up, get the mindset. But like Matt was saying, if you understand that, you got the education, you'll be like, I want that in my backyard because I know what I'm getting when I get it, even more yet than a PSMA inspection, if you will. And so one of the things that's part of that is managed costs. That's why these heating oil companies for years have sold heating oil in the summer on, to manage a cost. The same thing with some leadership and some foresight can be done with septic. Right now, I'm just saying for our companies, that's cutting edge. It's where we're going. The next 5 years, we are going to get there. We're even looking at things like warranties and insurances, but Premier Tech has already beat us on the draw. So.
And as far as finance, there is some financing options available now, not through the manufacturer, but there's some financing options available out there for the buyers. One other thing too on the maintenance side, Premier Tech holds the contract directly with the homeowner on the maintenance. We are the ones that hold that. Now, what we do then is we work with our partners and they maintenance them for us. Now the only reason why we do this, and these guys, I think they've heard it, is because what ends up happening a lot of times, and I don't believe this of these guys, but let's just say the maintenance provider just packs it up one day and says he's no longer in business. Okay, then what happens? And then the SCOs asking about what's going on with that system and everything else. Now when we hold the contract, well, I know these guys aren't going anywhere, but let's just say our maintenance provider packed up and got out of the business. Well, we have other maintenance providers. So then we just sub it out to those other maintenance providers so that system doesn't get overlooked. Okay? So we hold those contracts. We do all of that work. We place all those phone calls. We send out all the mailers. We do everything to make sure that those customers are staying on. Now, the other nice thing about our report is SCOs and things like that for regulators. We can show the ones that don't sign up too. So we can say, well, these guys, we send them out a renewal letter every single year and they aren't signing up. We know that system's not being looked at. But that's the nice thing about what we have is we can point to all the systems that are being looked at and we can point to all the systems that aren't being looked at. But with us having this in place, it really helps us down the road. And it helps you guys down the road too. So.
Okay, we're coming to the end of our time, but I just want to open up for any other Q&A. Could be about PSMA inspections, could be about installations. I want to hit one dynamic, and then we'll see if you have any other questions, and that is if it changes. We had this happen recently on a job. We were in the middle of an install. This was actually a tank. And settlement happened while it's in progress. Okay? Papers are signed. They come home. That guy went to the job in the morning with one boss, one customer. Till he was done in the afternoon, the new owner was the new boss, the new customer, and the whole dynamics of the job changed. He came home he like drove there straight from settlement. And I want this and I don't want this. And so it's just capitalizing on what Matt said. We're here to work with you. We have worked with the real estate. I actually let out back when I started in the septic business, I believe it was 01 or 02, bootstrapping it, getting started, and I did this little mailing to the local realtors. And we still have some of those original realtors. We are a realtor-sensitive, realtor-serving business. That is kind of our niche. We serve lots of people, but they're a professional, what's the word I want? A professional network that we work with. And so we understand the real estate business, and we are here to serve you. And we're not necessarily coming here to ask for sympathy, but you need to understand it's helpful if you give us a little sympathy when we bend over backwards and we met that settlement, and now this guy that you were serving is now our taskmaster. At least give us a friendly smile or something. But anyway, questions? One back there.
The cocoa is a shredded cocoa. It's not like the cocoa shell from a cocoa bean. No.
Shredded, right? Shredded cocoa
coconut.
is the media, not whole cocoa shells.
Coconut. Yeah, from the cocoa bean.
Yeah.
Not
coconut.
from a cocoa bean, from coconuts. Minus the coconut. Okay.
So I'm still trying to get a size of where the wastewater goes into. So you're taking a sand mound that's 20-foot wide and 30-foot long and might be 4 foot high. That's what's approved. That's what my specs say that I have to put in if I go with a sand mound. And you're putting this system in the middle of that, and you just reduced my drainage area to what?
Okay, so the question here is a sand mound was spec'd. Now we're going to put this in, and what is the reduced size of the drainage area that we're going to put in? We reduce it both in dimensions and in heights. I'm going to let Matt answer that.
So 20 by 30 is a very small system. That's 600 square foot. So,
What they tell me it was,
okay, so it must have perked very well. Okay, so you can take a 40% reduction. So we can get down. I mean, you could go down to something 40 by 10 is one I see a lot. 40 by 10. And so that would be about 400 square feet instead of 600. That would be about 40% reduction. So depends on what your probe, how many inches of suitable ground. But let's just assume it was 20 inches. So you're talking about 2.5 foot of sand, a foot of stone, a foot of cover. So 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 on the high side. So if that is on any slope, on the downslope side, you'll soon be above 6 foot. You could even be as high as 7 foot, because 20 foot wide is a fairly wide mound. So it's a good chance on the bottom side you're going to be 6 to 7 foot. So as high as me. So let's just say the sand mound. The acrate bed is going to be 18 inches, and it's going to go with the contour. So if the contour is like this, it's going to go with the contour. So you will never get above 18 inches.
so besides the unit, that's your fixed cost. But
Yep.
Just
That bed.
The fact is you're not moving as much material.
Yeah, way less. We're talking two max triaxle loads of stone. In that case, probably only one triaxle load of stone. You're talking about 3, maybe 4 loads of fill and topsoil. Let's say 4 or 5. It just depends how big of an area for topsoil. Sand mound, now 600 is pretty small, but let's just say it's 6 foot on the backside. Usually 20, 25 triaxle loads. So you figure fill berm, you figure topsoil, you figure sand. Okay, and here's the other thing in relation to that is if you have a drive, here's another thing. If you have a driveway you're coming in across with 25 triaxle loads, unless somebody did an outstanding job, you could end up having a new driveway, which we're going to mention that big time. If you're only bringing 3, 4 triaxle loads in, whole different story. So.
We charge you to show up at the end of the thing.
Oh, there's the local guy, Mike. Any other questions? Sure.
Actually, we really appreciate you showing up, Mike.
Actually, I have one.
Sure.
How's this compared to the Elgin system?
Yeah, so question is relation to Elgin. This isn't a fix-all for every single situation. One thing that in the state of Pennsylvania, now, there's ways you can get around it. It's called BTG, Best Technical Guidance, or another avenue where you don't have to do a length to width ratio. Right now, the state of Pennsylvania says any at-grade bed got to be 4-to-1. So that's why I talked about the 40 to 10 foot. You could go 15 by 60. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. So if you have a square area you want to use and the SEO isn't really workable with an alternate technology, and it's on a slope and you don't want a huge sand mound, you can use an Elgin. You're talking 3 to 3.5 foot, but that goes with the slope as well, and that has terraces. Price-wise, not even close. 20 to 22 grand. So you're talking probably about 4 to 5, 3 to 4 for sure, grand more. Now, in certain situations, you may not be able to do this coca. Anytime we can do it, it's the cheapest alternative to a sand mound. Elgin has certain criteria where you don't want a big, huge mound, or you might not even have to meet the isolations on distances to property lines. You might not even have the space to do a sand mound. And it might be a square lot where the SEO isn't going to let you to change that 4-to-1 ratio. Elgin. So there are places you can use Elgins or have to use Elgins, but they're more. It's very seldom that an Elgin will come in even remotely close.
And the main fact of the matter is that Elgin system, again, is buried. You cannot get to it. You can't maintain it. What's going to happen over time?
I also have another comment here, just kudos to Matt. Before it was Sonco, like he said, it was Sunlight Consultants. He still has that on. Matt is your go-to guy. He knows every tool in the book, and he's going to be straight up with you. If you have to make it fit, make it work, he's going to tell you what your options are. That is Matt's job. Our job is, after Matt has done his consulting work and said, this is the best thing, he gets that thing designed. We can put it, anything Matt can, any prescription Matt can write, we can administer. And Septic. And we're not the only company that installs Sonco Systems. There's different options. Last night we didn't talk about tonight, there are situations when nothing else works, where with a UV light you can actually discharge to a waterway, to a stream thing, but it's a pain. You're going to have to do a lot more paperwork. It might take you a year in the process, blah, blah, blah. It's still better than a holding tank system in the long run. But so when you got to rely on those things, guys like Matt are going to coach you through to what can we get through. But I can tell you, if you're doing a system like that, it ain't happening by settlement.
Any other questions? Back there.
The pump, you have a 2-year warranty on the pump. What's the price to replace a pump?
You know? What is it?
It depends what type of pump we put in. It really. Is that something you guys? We don't go through use for that though.
You can.
We go direct.
Ecoflo and it's the pump that comes with
Yeah.
it, generally one
I think she's asking about that.
So then we'll just use the same
Yeah,
alternative.
so what's a champion replacement?
$200 for the pump, and then for them to put it in.
So
Yeah,
you're roughly talking about $400.
And it's so easy. You saw the picture of the cam lock fitting. You pull it out, you unscrew the piping, you put the new piping back in, you click it on.
Very simple. It's a little cheaper than a pump typically in a sand mound. Now, it's a little different grade pump. In a sand mound, Golds is what we use. We could have a discussion on quality of pumps. I'm not going to get into that.
Gold has a 1-year warranty.
No, it doesn't. 3, sorry.
3?
I want to come in on the 2-year thing. That is not an average lifespan of a pump, even if whether it's the highest quality or lower quality. That is not an average lifespan. That's when they're guaranteeing it to 5, 10. A high quality pump, we can be pushing 15 years, maybe even 20. So I do give kudos to their design for the click, click, drop and go. and for a $200 pump, a pump replacement fee, it's actually a very manageable cost. Yeah, that's a good point. You're pumping clear water, so you don't need a grinder pump. Our home system, we go to public sewer. We just replaced that thing, $1,600.
So what they just said is, you know, a typical system, septic, from a septic system out to
Yeah.
a sand mound, you have to pump that. It has to be pressurized, but that's pumping untreated water. Our system, it's treated. Water's already been treated, it's down at the bottom. You're pumping clean water out to a drain field. There's a big difference. So, yeah. But I'm going to tell you, Ecoflo doesn't work for everything. I really like the system. Mike likes the system.
One or two more questions yet, and then we want to keep our time constraints for those who got to go.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Good.
Okay, thanks a lot for coming, Mike. And Matt, both of you, but to see Mike is a local rep. Somebody had wanted to hook up with Mike about a specialty concern. He's here, so you don't have to run after him. Mike, will you be over there or up front here somewhere for a few minutes? And the rest of us are here if you have any questions and to address to us personally. Make sure you have your email down there so we can send you to YouTube. And thanks for coming, and we'll be glad to serve you in any way we can in the days ahead.